Hey everyone, welcome to Season 3, Episode 14 of the Senstennial podcast. We're glad to have you with us. We got a few topics lined up. We're going to recap Ottawa's games that happened this past week. They played Buffalo, Carolina, and Anaheim. Then we're going to talk about some of the injuries the Sens are facing. And by some injuries, I mean basically half the roster.
All of the injuries.
Yeah, and then we'll look at the weekly predictions for the upcoming games before the All-Star break. So, we'll kick it off right off the top. The Sens get the revenge game against the Buffalo Sabres with a huge 5-0 win. But there were some downsides to that game. And I'll let Bennett jump into this one.
Yeah, obviously it was an amazing 5-0 shutout win for the Sens. It was Murray's first shutout of the season, if I'm not mistaken, right? And so it's a great game from him. The team in front of him played really well. Everyone was firing and with it. But of course, there was a fly in the ointment, and that was Drake Bathson going down after a total bullshit play, which we're probably going to talk about in a moment, from the Sabres goalie, Aaron Dell, who has since been sent to the shadow realm of waivers by his team. We'll talk about that in a second. I won't get too deep. But it was really rough to see Bathson go down like that. It was a big shame. We lost a couple players in that game. Gambrell, I think off the top of my head, went out with an injury too. It was a bit of a rough and tumble outing, and we paid the price for it in terms of further losses to our forward core that we could, ill afford already. So that was tough. It was great to get that win, and it looked really great on paper. And it was a nice, revenge tour against the team that, got us the week previous. But at what cost, man? At what cost?
Yeah, and I think that was the same game where Shabbat, he left the ice for a bit.
Yeah,
it looked like he might have been injured. And I was like, oh no, man. We can't do Batherson and Shabbat. Yeah. That would have been devastating.
The Holy Trinity.
That would have been real bad. So
yeah, I say in that instance, the Holy Ghost would be Gambrell, because he is invisible most games.
The coach loves him, though. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I feel like if he's invisible, then he's doing something right, because he's a standard fourth line guy.
I think that only is pertaining to defensemen. If you don't notice a defenseman, they're doing their job. If you're not noticing a center, I think they're just crap.
Yeah, I also should. I did say that I should put some respect on his name, because he did have that sweet move. Was it in the Buffalo game, or was it in a previous game where Gambrell set up
Gaudette?
Yes,
you might have been thinking of that. Yeah,
never mind.
No, Gambrell,
they occupy the same space in my brain.
Yeah, I get your point about, as a forward, you don't want to look invisible, but he also hasn't just been glaringly bad, which you can't always say the same about some of the forwards that have been in the lineup. So I think that it's just fine that he's been just going along.
Yeah, he's a solid fourth line player, and if they give him a contract, then there you go. It works out for him. I feel it sucks that he's out for sure, but
I feel like past this year, I don't really know if they'll hang on to Gambrell. So
I doubt it. I can't see it happening. Yeah. Especially considering all of the talent we have at center. So, you have Stützle, you have Norris, you have Pinto, and then you have who's the last? Colin White. It's going to be kind of tough for him to crack the line. But anyways, I don't want to talk about Dylan Gambrell anymore. I want to talk about Drake Batherson.
Yeah. Pour one out for a boy.
Yeah. I feel so bad for him, man. He was having such a stellar season. Gonna go to the All-Star game, and then it was so unnecessary too. It's just a standard play. You forecheck the guy behind the net. So standard. And some goalies, they'll kind of step out of their crease a bit to make the guy have to slow down or cut a worse angle to get to the player behind the net. But to just go out of the crease and then to lift the elbow up, come on, so unnecessary. And then you injure Ottawa's best player by doing that. It's just,
it's pretty spineless. And, as everybody pointed out on Twitter for 2 days straight, he has a history of doing it. But That's the brutal thing. He's a fringe NHL goalie, and I mean, it's just really brutal that he did that to an all-star in the game, and it was such a dickish play, because like goalies, if you do that, you should expect retaliation. That's sort of how it goes. Like if I did that in a beer league game, I would expect somebody to run me. Like that's just how it is. But the fact is he did that to an unsuspecting player. And I mean, the 3-game suspension is basically wiped because he was put on waivers and now he's in the AHL.
Yeah, it was so frustrating. I mean, like you were saying, Batherson's having like his breakout season in the NHL, gets invited to the All-Star game for the first time. He's going to bring his dad. They're going to make a weekend out of it. It was like this nice, this nice story, for everyone who's been waiting for Batherson to have his moment, and now he's getting it, and it's a big deal for him and for his family. And then to get taken out like that in such a nothing play that didn't need to be anything. The goalie steps out and, sticks his leg out, sends him into the boards at an awkward angle. It just sucks. And I mean, moving from the personal and how bad we feel just for Jake Batherson as a guy and as a player, as an individual, I mean, for the team, I mean, he's been by far our best and most consistent forward, and just another loss that our forward core can just not take. I mean, our top line now is Stützle at center and Tkachuk. And who did they have skating on the wing there?
I think it was
Ennis.
Sanford. Sanford and Ennis were taking.
Sanford and Ennis, depending on the shift. I mean, my
Ennis
God.
Okay. I love that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I love Tyler Ennis. He can kind of hold his own anywhere in the lineup, but the fact is that you're not going to win games with him on your first line. As much as we like him, and he plays with a lot of heart and compete, he put up a beautiful Hattie again in that Buffalo game, which was the standout story as well, which is so great to see and good for him. But yeah, I mean, when he's on your first line, that's just an indictment of the players you have available. And, part of it is just we don't have the depth even at the best of times. And part of it is just these crippling injuries. I mean, guy after guy going down. I mean, Norris is out too now. Batherson is out. We're missing White,
the line,
Pinto, and
the sheer amount of people. What is it? We got Batherson, White, Norris, Connor Brown, Pinto, Gambrell, Zaitsev, and around that game or in this last week, they were also out Branstrom, and I feel like it was somebody else as well. They have been so injury ridden.
Sabrin and Cruikshank are also on the IR now. Cruikshank probably would have been in AHL this year, and Sabrin's obviously just kind of a guy who comes up if they need somebody to fill in for an injury. But dude literally came in and dislocated his finger in the one fight. It's oh my God. Anyway, I mean, they're not huge losses for the Sens in terms of, really being taking them that next step as a team. But all the other guys you listed are big losses. I mean, Gambrell, not so much. Zaitsev, for some people, most Sens fans, probably not a big loss. But in general, they are regulars in the lineup. So
yeah, we're missing. I mean, as it stands, Batherson, Norris, Pinto, and Connor Brown are 4 players that were making up our top 6 at the start of the season.
Yep.
Yeah.
Holy Mackinoff, that's bad.
Yeah.
It's not good at all.
Yeah.
But missing 2/3 of the players that you would expect to be playing in your first 2 lines.
Yeah. But I mean, all this crap, it was really crappy to see what happened at Bathson, but my goodness, we had some highlight reel plays from Gaudette, not Gambrell.
Yeah.
And then, and then seeing Stützle's nifty pass over to Fermenton, who is absolutely killing it right now.
Oh yeah.
He's on fire, and Stützle's been our best forward I would say in the last couple of games, he's just not getting the points. And I mean, he's a trigger. He's a pass guy. He's not a trigger man. And he needs to learn to shoot more, in my opinion. But these injuries and guys that are going to score off of his passes, they're dwindling as time goes on. So he's just like passing into the ether and hoping for the best almost.
Honestly, though, the one benefit and a very like, I don't know, I want to preface this by saying that I'm not happy Pinto got injured. Okay. I love Pinto. But the one benefit of him having been injured is Stützle finally getting to play at center, the team recognizing that he actually plays better as a center than as a winger. And the fact that now you can focus on bringing in top six winger to complement him if you want to change things up there, you know, like if Formanton, he's playing amazing, don't get me wrong, but let's just say they want to go out and get like a UFA or someone on the trade market, you know, as a top six winger who's more bona fide in that position. You know, it's much easier trade value wise to go out there and get a top six winger than to get a top six center, right? It's just supply and demand, baby, basic economics. But yeah, no, seriously, it does help the organization see what they should do this summer if they choose to do anything rather than just lie low. But that's definitely a pro of it. But obviously you want to have those players back. I would love to see what this lineup looks like 100% healthy with Colin White filling in on right wing on, I don't know, second, third line, whatever. I just would like to see this team fully healthy so the Sens can recognize what they have going forward. Because I think it's been so hard for them to build that picture. And, you know, Bennett was saying it earlier, you know, Matt Murray's playing well, the rest of the team's injured. Now, like, if the team gets healthy again, or what is goaltending going to all of a sudden flatline? Like, I just want to see the team, everyone playing healthy and on their game. Like, how can this team play? Because I don't think anybody has a grasp of really what this team is.
Yeah, and we weren't actually recording when I brought up Matt Murray, so I should say on the record here that he is slowly climbing his way back to respectability. He's had a really good stretch since he came back from his stint in the minors. He's up now to a .906 save percentage, a respectable 2.94 goals against. He had that shutout against Buffalo. He's playing so much better in spite of all the injuries and kind of chaos in the lineup ahead of him. And yeah, I 100% agree, Matt. Like, it'd be so great and like kind of like important for this franchise to get a read of how we play when everyone is playing up to their potential and when everyone is in the lineup. I agree that getting to have a look at Stützle at center is super beneficial to this team and to Stützle himself, who's been playing really well in that position. So if that's a silver lining to the Pinto injury, then, you know, it's a worthwhile one. But even still, I mean, you'd love to see, you know, what the lineup would look like, exactly like you're saying, like, you know, like center, you know, 1-2-3 punch of like Norris, Stützle, and then Pinto. And, you know, have some of those guys who are great in the bottom of the lineup playing in the bottom of the lineup where their skills can be of the most benefit to the team. It would just be, you know, if you can imagine a situation where, you know, you've got our standard first line of Tkachuk, Norris, Bathson, you know, our second line of like Formanton, Stützle, and whoever they stick on that right wing. And then, you know, like a third line of maybe like, you know, like Pinto, Nick Paul, and like Ennis or Connor Brown, whoever it is. I mean, that'd be awesome. And, you know, that's a team that could actually, I don't know if, we'd still be a playoff team because we're still waiting for some of that high-end talent to really come through. But I think that'd be a team that would play respectably every night and probably play the kind of game that like the Sens management think the Sens play most nights, or that they think they want it to play.
Right.
So anyway,
it's hard to play against.
Yeah, because I mean, like, it's like the ongoing kind of like debate. It's like, oh, we want to be hard to play against. Or it's like our record begs to differ. Teams do not find us especially hard to play against, considering that they usually clown on us. So
we don't have elite defender Nikita Zaitsev in our lineup.
Yeah, so. That's true.
Or like the meme worthiness of whenever Scott Sabarin comes into the lineup, and DJ's like, oh, they play a physical game, so we're gonna put Sabarin in there, and it's like he plays 3 goddamn minutes, okay? Like please, just don't do that, because this person not only is like coming into the lineup taking a younger person's spot, but they're also only playing 3 minutes. There's not a lot of like I'd be pretty pissed off if that was the case. But I just feel for this whole situation, because if guys started playing to the potential that they could be and started to, it could have been a completely different season, especially if you have Murray playing at the level he's expected to be. And there was a question period with Bruce Garriock, and
the one and only hashtag great coverage.
Yeah, and I believe it was Jamie McLennan was also on it, or it was a yay or nay, and they were asked, will Anton Forsberg be considered for a contract? And I thought it was really interesting because Garriock said no. And I mean, he's the water carrier, so like he knows everything. So I would not be surprised if they try and put Forsberg into games where it's going to pad his stats a little bit and send him off in the deadline.
Yeah,
I can't see our playoff aspirations come to fruition this year. I mean.
You don't say.
I think we're well. To be fair, we still have quite a few games behind teams.
Sure.
So you could theoretically make it up, but at the same time, we're still in this is theoretically the last year of this rebuild, even though it's supposed to be over. And you have assets going out that should go out and won't be coming back, but like a guy like Tyler Ennis, I'm not trading, because I personally believe he's a good fit on this team. He's a good veteran that brings value, and the guys respect him. Like even in that mic'd up thing with Drake Batherson, Tyler Ennis, one of the best fucking guys to ever lace him up, sort of thing. Which I love that. Like, I think that's amazing. I can't imagine Drake Batherson skates by Josh Brown and says, Josh Brown.
I will say though, like
Josh Brown, second best Brown on this team.
I guess
third when we had Logan.
With Tyler Ennis, I actually think they should trade him, and it's only because they traded him to the Oilers for a 5th round pick, and then they ended up just getting him back in free agency. So you literally gained an asset for nothing. He likes playing for DJ Smith. He is trusted by the coaching staff. The team likes him. I'd say, hey, Ennis, we're going to keep giving you a shot to go and get like a cup somewhere. And this year, I think he'd get a better asset. Like, I think you could get at least like a 3rd round pick for Tyler Ennis this year with the production he's put up and how much of a workhorse he is. Like, every game he's noticeable in a good way for the most part. I know he was scratched because of his turnover. What was that, last week? Or 2 weeks ago. But other than that, he's just so consistently steady that I think any team that's looking to make a deep playoff run would love to pick him up as depth. It's like when Ottawa picked up Stallberg. They gave up a 3rd round pick for him, Stallberg. And his production wasn't amazing, but he was just known to be one of those quality depth players that would help you get through the playoffs. So anyway,
I just think there's worth in rewarding a guy who's worked so hard, like Ennis, who came back in the offseason. Like, don't make him sell his house again. You know what I mean? No. I just think he's a player that very well could fit in nicely wherever you put him. Yeah. You could slot him on the left side on the 3rd line with Connor Brown and Shane Pinto, and Nick Paul slides to the 4th if you decide to keep him as well. And then that's a quality ass 3rd line. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. A 3rd line of Shane Pinto, Connor Brown, and Tyler Ennis that's a zoomer. I like that a lot. I get where you're coming from. Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense to be trading out assets to get value back. But if they're a quality veteran, like Nick Holden, for example, you probably could have traded that guy and gotten a third or a second, considering how well he was playing.
Well, I think also just
but they rewarded
his
him,
track record too of being like with how he played for Vegas in the playoffs. Yeah. He's a playoff guy. Probably would have helped, but no, you know what? I do agree with you. Like, I would like to see Tyler Ennis come back another season. I think if they flip out guys like Sanford, for example, God, now all the guys that I was thinking of that they could potentially flip out, gone. But I know Sanford's one of them, right?
Gambrell, Sanford.
Potentially Gambrell. But what was the other guy? Forsberg. We were talking about him. I think goaltenders are going to be a hot commodity this trade deadline. You look at Florida putting Montembeault on waivers earlier this season and Montreal picking him up. Montembeault did not have good numbers. And there was... who was the other goalie? There was another goalie who was
Jonas Johansson.
Yes. And he was like bad. He was not playing well, and he got picked up. So I'd like to see what Forsberg could fetch, and then you could just call up Gustafsson and have him and Murray split games to end the season. Like Gustafsson,
we know Gustafsson's an NHL goalie.
Yeah, like
there's your thing.
He was looking shaky before he got sent down, like at times. But I think, let him play in the AHL for a bit. Call him back up. You trade Forsberg, and then next season, I mean, if you have injuries, you could start looking at calling up Sogard, Just
absolutely.
But we should actually touch on Holden because he got an extension. And so we should address that. So 1 year, $1.3 million for Holden. I think that's perfectly fine. Ran it by my boy, Will Scouch, shout out to him. And he thought it was a good signing for the Sens. He really likes him. And I agree. Like, he's a great depth player, great veteran, fits in the lineup well. You could really put him wherever you want, left, right side, bottom pairing, top four, penalty kill. He just fits almost all situations, right? So he's just a key player, and you're locking him up for one more year at very cheap value. And I think he'll be a great mentor for guys like Sanderson and Pinto when he comes back, and just in general, some of the younger guys like Stützle, Brady, and all of them. So I think he'll be great for that. And safety first, boys.
Yeah. And one of the things is like, I mean, I'm just looking at the Athletics player cards who were created by Dom on Twitter. I can't say his last name, but I appreciate the hell out of him. And his
Don Loose Chichin.
Yeah. I think he had the pronunciation at one point in his bio.
His market value is $2.4 million. And that to me, for a guy who just signed a new extension, like, he's doing a lot of things really well. And he's found a beautiful partner in Artem Zub. Man, do you remember when we had trouble figuring out what Zub and Zub, which one it was?
That was only you.
I'm certain other Sens fans had that too.
I always went with Zub. Okay.
But there's no umlaut on it or anything that would make it suggest that it's a long U.
I guess that's fair, yeah. But
damn straight it's fair. Anyways, I think Zub and Holden's pairing is excellent. And the fact of the matter is now we have two good pairings for one of the first times in well over a decade. And if Shabbat is
Carlson Mathot with two pairings.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, anything that had CC near it was Dagapupu. But
we won't talk about that. Even though the Sens are seeing Cody Ceci tonight for the first time in the regular season since he was traded. Fun fact.
7:30 puck drop. Let's go. Puck drop. But yeah, I mean, Eric Branstrom's back in the lineup as well. I'm a huge Eric Branstrom fan. I love seeing the guy succeed. Small Kings unite. So small Kings unite. I'm a 6'1" lad myself, so I'd be very much average. So.
Yeah,
right,
being the height that I am and hearing Branstrom constantly referred to as like comparatively tiny compared to his NHL peers feels bad, man.
I also love how every time Branstrom his height is brought up, I feel like people keep making him smaller and smaller. Like this guy's going to be like 5 feet tall by the end of next season.
Yeah.
I know he was listed at 5'10", and it's fair, he's not 5'10", but you hear people saying that, oh yeah, he's not close to 5'10", he's 5'8".
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And then now his official listings changed, it's 5'9". But now you hear people changing on the radio and commentary side, and they're saying, oh yeah, he's 5'7". And I'm like, why do we keep making this guy he's not shrinking year over year? This dude's in his early 20s.
A fun anecdote about Eric Branstrom. His last year when he was playing in the World Juniors, I have a tendency to hate defensemen that look like they could be better than Erik Karlsson's prime. And Branstrom at the World Juniors was so dominant that I started disliking him. I was like, nah, fuck this guy. No, not
Who
today.
Who does he think he is?
And then we traded for him, and I was like, he was good. I'll say that. But I genuinely, I love seeing that he's coming back, and he said my confidence has never been higher. And I'm like, hell yeah, dude, because you're doing everything on the ice. You're playing with one of the league's premier defensemen and Thomas Chabot and playing well on your offside. That's awesome. And if he gets to continue doing that, because you don't really hear about two offensive defensemen playing on one line or one pairing. But try it out, see how it goes. You love to see it. I'm just a big old Eric Branstrom fan.
Oh, we couldn't tell. We actually forgot to touch on the Carolina game and Anaheim game because we got so carried away. I don't know if we want to briefly touch on it. I think the Carolina game, I don't really think there's a ton to say. I think the Sens played above their weight considering the injuries. We're able to really have a fairly even game against Carolina. Losing the shootout, it is what it is. And then they come back against Anaheim and had a hell of a performance. But obviously Gibson just stood on his head and stonewalled the Sens so many times that there were a lot of heads raising to the rafters, really wishing that they could have buried some chances. We could talk about Forsberg's first goal, which was really rough.
I saw it go in and I was like, that's greasy.
Yeah.
And as a goalie, his pad over rotated. So the face of the pad was on the ice and I was like, oh no, what have you done? Not a good look. Gotta
tighten those straps up.
Seriously.
Yeah. The Sens put 45 shots on Gibson and he let in one goal. It was it was quite the performance from him. We were debating amongst ourselves whether the game was boring or not, because of how little happened. And I guess by the time at the end of the game, when you look at all the stats and the shot clock and stuff, it's we had a ton of chances, opportunities. We just got stonewalled by a goalie playing at the top of his game. So, there wasn't a lot that happened, but I guess, part of that was just because their goalie had such a lights out performance that, got to give it to him, I guess.
Yeah, it happens sometimes. And I think even DJ Smith said that Gibson put on a clinic. That's just the best way to describe it. Yeah. I know some people were complaining about Ottawa's offense, but they didn't have a lot of their guys. They didn't have Norris, for example, who is their power play beauty with his one-timer. They didn't have Batherson, who again is a really good sniper on the power play.
Oh man,
Stützle is great.
That power play against Anaheim was just brutal. It was so
there was one power play
where they had 5 shots on goal.
Yeah, and that was in the first period, and that basically set the tone. It was oh no, oh god.
But yeah, when half of your top guys are out, I think it's going to be a challenge to really get quality chances, especially against a goalie as good as Gibson. So it is what it is. Now we've got 2 games this week before the All-Star break. They play tonight against the Oilers, and then they play tomorrow night against the Islanders. So a back-to-back, and then they're off for the All-Star break. So tonight against the Oilers, I initially was thinking the Sens would win. I'm a little on the fence now because Edmonton with Evander Kane, kind of worries me because that guy, he's good and he's playing with McDavid. So
I hope they slap up the Oilers for signing him. So
yeah, I mean,
I'm going to say Ottawa's going to beat them 6-1.
Oh, if that happens, I will buy you dinner.
Yeah.
Or drink on me, man.
Bennett last week was like perfect. He picked each loss and each win. I was
pretty close. I just like to say,
but being close only works in horseshoes and hand grenades, my friend.
Hey, I said Buffalo revenge tour. They did. Then I said loss versus the Canes, which it was close. And then I said unexpected win over the Ducks, which they should have had. It's not my fault that Gibson decided to go out of his mind, balls to the wall. Right. So pretty close.
Now, Matt, you have to be accurate. You have to get it.
That's true.
I was last week. Or 2 weeks ago, Bennett was last week. It's your turn.
All right. I'm gonna just cop out answer and say, 50-50. They're gonna get a win and a loss. I'm thinking the win will come tomorrow against the Isle, but it is the back-to-back. So I think the better shot of winning is tonight. So it's like my brain, don't know what to guess here, but one of you guys can go in with your predictions.
I was saying to Matt before we started recording, it's going to be hard not to just predict L's from here on out based on the state of our players right now.
Bennett.
So I mean, Edmonton fucking bullied us last year. Like, did they not go 9-0 against us?
Yes.
And outscored us by an order of magnitude. I just Raiders they're starting to kind of find a bit of their mojo again after a pretty dismal month of December for the team and most of January too. You could just feel that Edmonton's going to dunk on us again. And then the Islanders, normally I'd say we have a chance against them, another team that's been depleted and had a rough start to the year because of COVID and stuff like that. But in the second half of a back-to-back with our roster this thinned out as it is, I just can't see us pulling a win. So I'm going to say we go 0-2 this week.
Ooh, Bennett, man. Hurting me deep.
Has to be said.
And other Matt, did you give your predictions?
Yeah, 1-1.
1-1.
We're going to beat the Oil, and then we're going to lose on the back-to-back because we're going to get stymied by Ilya Sorokin.
You know what? Screw this. We're going 2-0, baby. That's my prediction. 2-0. Let's go.
Yeah. It's hard to find 3 distinct answers when we're only playing 2 games in 1 week.
Oh, man. All right. Well, okay. How do we all think that Tkachuk's going to do at the All-Star game? Do we want to do a bet on points here? How many points he'll get?
I haven't watched an All-Star game since I was probably 15 years old.
Bennett, we don't have to watch the game. We just have to check afterwards, see how many stats or how many points he had. I would say 3.
I would love to see him get I don't know if they really fight in the All-Star game, but if they do kind of a little kind of joke fight, not to injure anybody. I see he gets a Gordie Howe hat trick because that would be just
against his brother or something.
Against his brother, that'd be kind of sick.
That would just be so funny. I don't think he'll fight Matthew, but something tells me if he gets a goal and an assist, that he'll just shove a guy on the other team until they politely do some Victorian fisticuffs for a moment, and it's that counts. That's a Gordie Howe.
I think basically a fight is just. Oh, excuse me.
Look at this guy. Wow.
I know. It came out of nowhere. I could not stop it. I think a fight is basically when you both drop your gloves and grab each other. Then it's then they give you a 5-minute fighting major. So
there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you to everybody who's listened, watched. We really appreciate you. You can find us on our social medias on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Reddit at the Senstennial or the Senstennial podcast. Of course, we're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. So make sure to subscribe or follow us, and leave a comment if you liked the episode and like it, and all the YouTuber stuff that they say, throw that in there, and then we'll hit you with like a Go Sennies or something. I'll get like.
I really hope we don't put Go Sennies in there.
Yeah, that might be a Sens Discord thing. I should probably cut that. Anyway.
Oh, is that? All right.
It's a joke thing. Someone once called them the Sennies, and then everyone was just like, thought it was really bad, but then we all just jokingly said it. Anyway, Sens Discord.
Love inside jokes. Love to be a part of one.
Sens Discord. This one goes out to you. That one was for Sens Discord.
That's how they get you. It starts with it as a joke, and then you just say it.
Oh yeah. I'm a cult member now of the Sennies. Okay.
There you go.
Oh, all right. That's why I have to keep seeing you drinking Kool-Aid.
You weren't supposed to tell anyone that, to be honest.
Oh boy.
Anyway,
this is going off the rails.
We got the Murray. I'm not gonna fully turn around. I got the Murray T-shirt on. You know, Murray's getting the dub tonight. People will be like, "Why does this guy have a Murray T-shirt?" It was a gift, and I will wear it with pride. Okay, he's getting the win tonight. Calling it right now.
It'd be sick. He keeps racking them up, and then Edmonton gives him a call, and we deal his deal, and that's it.
There you go.
Hell
baby.
yeah, man. All right.
Yeah, that would be the real hustle. Is
that'd be unreal.
Murray stands on his head, gets a shout out. We send him to like a goalie strapped Edmonton.
Ken Holland like creeps around the column at CTC. He's like, "What do you want from Murray?"
Hey man, they give us like Koskinen so that they can do the contract stuff work, and then we get like draft pick and a prospect.
There you go.
Anyway, all right. Everyone, enjoy the games this week. If you watch the All-Star game, well, try to enjoy it, I guess. And glad that Brady's repping the team again there. And go Sens go. We'll catch you in the next one.
Go Sennies.
See you later.